Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown. It's the final post-game show of the 2013-14 season, and it's kind of bittersweet. I've been looking forward to a little bit of a break, but now that we're kind of getting there, it's a little bit sad. But at least we got a treat of 3 or 4 scintillating games by the Spurs. Really just fantastic ball movement, the essence of team, and they happened to catch the Heat on their 4th straight finals. They looked worn out. Managing the minutes weren't good on either side because you have LeBron, who's just exhausted and maybe never really recovered from Game 1's cramps. And then you have Dwayne Wade, who, while they tried to save him across the regular season, probably end up making him not in cardiovascular shape, because you can ride the bike or swim as much as you like, but it's just not the same as running out there on a real basketball court in games. And it never looked like Dwayne Wade had enough cardio to sustain more than a few minutes at a time. So just incredible stuff. Can't wait to get through some footage. We have some plays for you to go through. But first, I thought what we should do is go through some of our Twitter questions. So let's jump on there right away and see what we have to begin. So to start, let's make it a little bit bigger and scroll down here. So we have, starting 2 hours ago, we have Sirocco asks, what was different in this game for Miami? Well, not much at all. They started Ray Allen, which is what I had said they needed to do earlier in our breakdown today, and that ended up being a big thing for them in the beginning. They got good movement. They got some switches by the Spurs, which we'll show you, and that helped. But ultimately, they just ran out of gas. And I'm not surprised at the outcome at all. The officiating was definitely a little bit off in the beginning in favor of the Heat, but it just wouldn't matter. The Heat were giving up way too many open shots. Let's see here. Wasim asks, I think that was Tim Duncan's first jump shot of the finals early in the first quarter. It might have been. He hasn't been shooting that well from the perimeter. I'm not a big fan of his jump shot as it is. So, I wouldn't be surprised. Manny says, why hasn't Pop Bellinelli much this finals and postseason? Bellinelli, why hasn't he played? Well, Bellinelli, it's hard. He played a lot in the beginning of the year and kind of fell out of favor. Offensively, I think he got lost a little bit on what they wanted to do in their sets, and so Pop probably didn't have as much trust in him that he would execute. And defensively, he was, getting lost a little bit too. So on both sides of the ball, it's tough. But he was a professional. He came in and did his job when they needed to, and he hit some good shots when he was out there. Let's see. Constantine says, shots behind the half court should be worth 5 points. It would stop players from boringly dribble it out. Okay, interesting point. Certainly there are players that won't shoot that shot for fear of making their field goal percentage go down. So I'm game. Why not? Maybe 4 points. Rod asks, Spurs set out a first quarter break. Alley-oop for Kawhi. Looks a lot like Pacers set for George. How would you defend that? We're going to get on that in a few minutes, so stay tuned. We're going to cover that. Great question, Rod. African Mandingo asks, why are the Heat not running horns as much as they did in Game 2? You might have seen, I asked Coach Spoelstra before Game 3 about horns and their horn set, and his answer, if you saw it, was very strange to me as far as, it didn't seem very scientific. It didn't seem scientific to me that they knew what they were calling and how they called their plays. So it was strange to me how horns gets called and doesn't get called, as if they kind of forget or don't realize how good a set it is. So it's really frustrating in that point because, again, I can't really explain exactly why or how that happens. I wish I would see more horns from the Heat without question. It just keeps happening that way where, they don't run it. And next thing you know, the game is halfway over. They don't get good shots. So, it's weird. But let's bring on Coach Gibson Piper to talk a little bit about the game with us because he was getting some clips for us and charting some stuff. So, Coach, welcome to the show. You have any overview right now of what you felt about the whole series?
Yeah, first of all, hey, it was very interesting. If you told everybody on Twitter the Spurs would win in 5, have 3 20-point blowouts, they would have thought you were on some sort of drugs, thought you were crazy. It was really cool to see the Spurs play as a unit and execute as flawlessly as they did at times, and also a little disheartening to see the Heat kind of just whittle away. I don't know if it was due to what the issue was, but really there was not a lot of competitive fire outside of LeBron.
I agree. I think that there was I think that they, granted, they're tired, it's a long slog, all those things, and minutes might not have been managed as well, but certainly what I had pointed out in the breakdown earlier today was that it was the execution they weren't doing, the details. I know you're tired, whatever, and then you might miss some shots, but it doesn't explain why you wouldn't run to the correct spot or set the screen in the right spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It seems at times like we were talking earlier, playing selfish basketball where they weren't actually setting a screen. There have been several possessions where you can go through consecutive possessions and really not see a screen set. It was actually great to set that illegal screen today and get a turnover for it because that means they actually set a screen.
Yeah, right, exactly. They laid some wood on there. And we talked about it. It was a lot like what we saw with Roy Hibbert, who would literally just put a finger or two on the guy and then try and slip it. And why we think that that's selfish is that, if you try and slip a screen, usually you should do that very infrequently to catch the defense off guard. But when you see it happen enough times, what it says to me is that the guy is simply just trying to score. He's like, I'm not going to set a screen here. I want to try and cut and get the ball back to score quicker and not actually help my teammate get open. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I definitely feel that way. Slips, typically speaking, are designed for reads in the pick and roll set. Like if a team like Miami, does a hard hedge or traps, sometimes you slip it early and get a quick dump and have that guy be the playmaker, similar to Diaw, what we saw earlier on in the series. And it just seems like they were uninterested in setting a screen.
Oh, did we lose you? Okay, I think you're there. Well, let's talk big picture for a second here because there has a lot of questions now. People were asking me about Coach Spoelstra and if he's on the hot seat, and even though I'm not fond of what he was doing on either end of the floor, I think he's totally safe. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think 4 straight finals and 2 rings kind of earn you some job security, regardless if you got the players or not. I think that kind of speaks for itself. You aren't going to find anybody out there that has the coaching resume bar maybe Phil Jackson, who obviously is with the Knicks. I don't think there's any worry for his job at all. No.
Yeah, and so, but they're going to have to revamp a little bit here. I feel like they're going to have to get back to what they were doing a little bit more in the Indiana series, which I felt was they were pressuring the guards a lot, but then they were also sinking back, and they were mixing it up. And I feel like that is where you get the best kind of defense, where you're not just trapping every single time, wearing everybody out, but you're making the offense think about it. And I think that they're going to have to develop a lot more of that and play more positional defense. What are you seeing? What do you think? Is there anything they have to change philosophically?
Philosophically, no, I don't think they do. I think you need to make adjustments based on what has happened. So, for instance, not blitzing all the time or getting younger legs. Find a young defensive free agent maybe who can help out, be that spark off the bench, and be able to, kind of like Norris Cole was before he kind of, I guess it just faded away, but he's a good ball hawk, good on-ball defender. If you get a good wing defender, they can run a little more traps and a little more traps. But as far as 4 straight finals, there's no need, to, freak out or anything.
Right, and they're in the East. So remember, Washington is going to be a real problem coming up at some point, I think, if they keep that team together. But the Bulls, maybe they reload, maybe they get mellow. But you're right. Currently, right now, they certainly have a nice road to the conference finals for the next couple of years, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I don't really. Washington is young, and they're going to get better. I think it will depend on what Nene and Gortat do. They do need some bigs. They are lacking. Wall and Beal are fantastic. They got a really good young coach. Besides the Wizards, the Bulls are too defensive. They need more scoring right now. The Heat are just by far the best team in the East, and I don't think it's close, even with an unhealthy Wade.
Absolutely. Well, don't forget to follow Coach Piper over at Half Court Hoops, and we'll have a lot more coming up with him and me collaborating on some really cool stuff, so stay tuned for that. And Coach, thanks for coming on, and we will see you really soon.
I appreciate that. Y'all take it easy.
You got it. Alrighty, so sports fans, let's jump over to some videos, shall we? Let's go through some clips that we have all set up for you, where let's begin with, we talked earlier on about let me turn off the sound here. We talked a little bit about in our breakdown earlier today about how the switching the Spurs was helping the Heat to some degree, but they couldn't capitalize on some of the plays. Here's a couple instances where they actually did capitalize. So let's start here with halfway through the first quarter, and we're going to watch they run an out-of-bounds play from the sideline. And they're going to run Ray Allen's the culprit here, and as he's basically getting a loop play, and you'll see here that Dwayne Wade is setting the screen in the lane, and I pointed this out as a problem, and he did it again. So if that is the play in this clip we showed earlier today, I showed you that he was actually in the lane for 5 seconds, and they completely blew that. It should have been a 3-second call, but for whatever reason he's doing it again there. So they have to switch, and there's Duncan on Ray Allen because Ray Allen curled back to the strong side, and that means Parker has to guard Bosh. So again, they're successful here and getting a nice little kick out. Now Bosh is supposed to have shot it, but they do end up getting a rotation and a pass and out for the three. So there's an example of the switching not working for the Spurs on that pin down. So now we're going to see another play like that, where they come down almost right away on the next possession, and here it is. Bonner is going to get a pin down, and he stays with his man a little bit behind the play, and on the pick and roll they have to switch. So now you got Bonner on LeBron. We've seen this in the past, and that becomes a simple ISO for LeBron, as it should. They get pretty good spacing where the other guys give him enough room, and even though they pack the paint, there's a kick out and another quick pass. Aha. Let me show you this. So here's where the Spurs defense could be a little bit on the same page more. Kawhi comes all the way over because it was his man. He wants to be aggressive to help, leaving the corner. So here's where they have to get on the same page, is Mills and Kawhi. Kawhi's the lowest guy on the in the defense, so it really should be him closing out. Mills should never have gone for this pass. He should have stayed home on Ray Allen, particularly because it's Ray Allen. Instead, they both go, they don't talk, and that gives up the open shot. So there you go. That killed them. They didn't get enough of that. And that was kind of the only one of the only post-ups we saw from LeBron. Now here, out of the made free throw, they're going to come down, and Kawhi is going to bring it up. Now this gets exciting to me because if Kawhi starts to be a point forward and brings the ball up, he just becomes really a dominant player because he can attack from all aspects of the floor. So here he brings it up, and you can see Dwayne Wade picks him up. So clearly that's how they wanted to match up with LeBron on Tony Parker off of the made free throw. So they ISO right on Kawhi on Dwayne Wade, knowing Dwayne Wade's got an issue with his knees. He's not strong enough, and there's the kick out to Splitter. So let's see what happened here. I would say Splitter, as a guy who's driving, you never want to kind of cut around and get in the way of your own man. And it's sort of what he did. It's not the smartest thing to do because it brings Birdman over. But Birdman goes for the fake. He simply can't get there. And then on the sink, let's see, Battier is simply not effective on a big man on a nice reverse. One of the few times we'd seen Splitter actually finish well down low. So now we have another out of a timeout. The Spurs come down. So here's another one of Kawhi's attacks here. Let's see here. Oh, so this is okay. Out of bounds play, we see the alley-oop for Kawhi. So I love when you call a nice smart play on an out of bounds, catch the other team not paying attention. So let's see what happens here. So Parker brings the ball up, gives the ball to Kawhi, and again Wade is still on him. It's not a good matchup for the Heat. They need to find some other way to defend this. And really simply, all he does is Dwayne Wade is not paying attention. Birdman doesn't really speak loud enough to call the back screen by Kawhi. Now at this point, when Birdman sees this, he's going to have to get in his way, bump him, and try and do his best. And then Bosh needs to have his hands up. It doesn't have his hands. But Birdman never even moves there. Beautiful pass and a beautiful dunk. That's just great, humiliating basketball. It humiliates the Heat. And remember, the Heat were still had a lead. So off the jump ball, I believe this is where Kawhi is going to actually, we're going to start to see the metamorphosis of Kawhi as he begins to feel the glow and believe in himself. So real simple motion offense here. Swing the ball, and they get it to Kawhi. They want it to go to Kawhi. Look, they're going to clear out, and Kawhi is going to do this Michael Jordan thing where he waves the ball a little bit away, right? That was startling to me, seeing that against a guy like LeBron, and he just literally in his face easily hits the jumper. That's when he can start doing that. I had tweeted out and people went crazy at me for saying he could score 30 a game. I was a little crazy. I didn't mean 30. I think I meant elite. The top 5 in the league with scoring. So you're talking about 25, 26 a game. And when he brings the ball up, we've seen him post up. We see him face up on LeBron and score on him easy. These are all the things that he could do if he believes in himself. He could score 25 a game easy, even with the defense on him. Because with this offense, the defense can't key on him so easily. So now we have an out-of-bounds play. I think we're going to see how there's not going to be any switching on this. So here comes the ball screen. Real simple play. Notice they didn't set a screen for Rashard Lewis first. They had been doing a lot of that, and as a result, Duncan is in position. He wasn't sort of delayed at all by a screen, and you're going to see LeBron go right to the hoop here, and Duncan. When it's Duncan there, he's playing very spry, and Diaw is also going to get in his way because the spacing is a little bit off. It just makes it harder for a left-hand finish. And then Kawhi comes right down on the free throw, on the rebound, and just pulls up and hits the three. How many forwards can do that? How many forwards in the league can play lockdown defense and the best player in the league, get the rebound, come down coast to coast, and pull up on a three? I mean, that's otherworld stuff we're talking about. In fact, it's like LeBron. That's LeBron kind of action here. So here we have a clip. Let's see what we got here. We pick it up a little bit late. And I think this is what it is. So they get a bucket here. So they bring it down. And, we're going to run motion. So their basic motion to swing it into horns. So basically what we have here, I think it's got a little screwy because I think maybe Parker or Mills should have stayed in that corner as Parker. But and then as a result, Manu had to go all the way to the other side. But this is definitely horns. It's a double high post, guy on top, and they run a little pinch post action, and that gets Kawhi a layup. So what's beautiful about that is that they can disguise horns. Most teams have to run it right away with the guy dribbling it up. Here they can swing it first and then run it. It's just gorgeous basketball. Okay, let's move on to and then Patty Mills was the story of the game here in the third quarter where. By the way, that was goaltending. The ball hit the rim, hit the backboard first, but it's tough to see, I guess, where the ref was, and the crowd was going crazy. So here's Patty Mills. He runs right to the corner like they tell him to on offense to start to see what they can get, and then nobody. Actually, Ray Allen is in good position here. He is ready if he needs to kind of help, but he's also 2 steps away from closing out. But they break right into their offense. Let's see what happens here. So this is an unnecessary rotation. So basically, they front Diaw. Now here's the mistake. They can't have Wade on Diaw, and they did it in the last game too, and they kept getting caught with their pants down, and it can't happen. They need to be able to have what's his face LeBron on Diaw. And then put Wade on, I would say Wade on Manu, and then you can put Bosh on, Kawhi. Or you put Bosh on Diaw and then let Wade guard Manu. So in transition, though, that doesn't happen even though it's a score. It forces a rotation by LeBron, forces a sink and fill by Ray Allen. So that's actually pretty good defense, but as a result, Haslam cannot get out there. Oh, that's Haslam not out there. So they should have had Haslam on Diaw. So great way. Now, and then Mills gets one more three. So Mills is just trailing the play. You got guys bunched up here in the middle, not talking. And look, nobody picks him up. Boom. And that was a mess. Their transition defense was a real problem. So there's some good highlights of what was going on in that game. But, again, the Spurs are better. They simply were better than the Heat. I think that even if the Heat were feeling better and had a little bit more energy, I don't think it matters. I think it was the perfect storm of the Heat trying to attack over-aggressively, which works against most teams, but not the top 2 or 3. And the Spurs were ready for it all season long. They were preparing for it. They paid attention to the details. Pop didn't let them go and didn't let them he would call timeout if they were up by 15, 20 in a game and stress how important it was to run their offense and to stick together as a team. And they bought into it. So it was really exciting to see that kind of triumph. Let's go back to our questions from Twitter and see what we got here. All right. So where do we leave off here? Ray Allen's offensive foul while setting the screen in the second quarter. What was that about? Yeah, some weird calls. Norris Cole on Leonard. What is Spoelstra doing? That might have been a switch. Let's see here. Constantine says, continuation for and one. Offensive players allowed to play after the whistle, but the defender isn't. Where is the sense? Well, I think what they want to do is make sure the defender doesn't take his head off after the play is called. So that's sort of what that's about. Sirocco asks, will Duncan and Popovich stay for one more year just so they can repeat before retiring for good? I'm not so sure. They were pretty non-committal up until now. We're going to have to wait and see what they said. So can you imagine 3 straight finals matchups between Heat and Spurs? That would be awesome if that can happen. Jerome asks, why don't the Heat post up their scores more often? It's coaching criminality that LeBron did not post up more. I don't know what happened there, but I bet you we could go through the whole series, and count up the number of post-ups, and it'll be very low per game. Does Miami keep its big three? No shame in losing the Spurs. Absolutely. They're all going to opt in. They're going to stay together. They're probably going to figure out a way of getting another guy in. They're going to need it because they're going to lose. I'm sure we know that Battier is retiring. I believe that Lewis is probably gone, so they're going to have some spots they're going to have to fill. So Constantine says, my Aussie PE teacher Travis knows Mills for 10 years, since 10 years. In 2009, he told me Patty Mills will be great. Well, there he is, a great guy off the bench. I'm taller than Patty Mills. It was crazy standing next to him. The Heat need younger athletes, but with their system, they need to overwhelm the other team with talent, and they're going to have to try and get some very talented players. I don't know if they can do that with this salary cap the way it is. What percentage of the finals, Joey asks, playoffs wins were Pop in his system, and what percentage of the players? You know what? I mean, they're equally important, but certainly Pop is more important to that team with his system than any other coach in the league. So whatever that percentage is, it's more than any other team by far, and he could have had a share of the MVP. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, 46 questions. I got to scroll all the way back down. Hang on, folks, because I know we have some good questions coming up. All right, here we go. Is this the best championship Spurs team? Wow, great question. They had some really good ones, but certainly this might be the best team where they all shared the ball, they all play together. So I might go with that. But there were some great teams they've had with Duncan and Robinson going at it, and then the young Manu. How much did Spoelstra's bullpen bench hurt the Heat? It was the deciding factor, I think. I think as soon as they came in and started to keep the pace going, the Heat could not keep up. Wade's legacy should take a hit more than LeBron James. I mean, I think anytime you lose the finals, your legacy something happens to it. What is the number one weakness that the Heat need to address if they want to win the title next year? I think they need to adjust their defense. I think teams have adjusted enough to it where they can handle it for the most part, even though they're in the weak Eastern Conference. I think they're going to need to also improve their offense. I think they're going to need to install more of a team system that actually gets other players involved because they're going to need their role players to do better, and that's what a system does. Did beating OKC in the Western Conference Finals give the Spurs the blueprint to beat Miami? I think there is some similarity offensively, conceptually, if not complete plays. There is some similarities there. But I think that the Spurs have been practicing for this for the Heat specifically their whole year. Is this the most polished offense you've ever seen? It's got to be up there for sure with what they've been able to do through this playoffs through the West and have 60-some wins in a ridiculously tough Western Conference. It's got to be a top 5 of all time just for the process of what they do. LeBron is now 2-3 in the finals. MJ was 6-0. Kobe was 5-2. So this should end the talk about who's better. I don't know. I feel like there's so many things involved, independent of the player and how good he is. That it's tough to use that, but certainly if you want to separate MJ from LeBron, I would point to the moments that LeBron sort of disappeared in the different versions of the finals that MJ never did as a way of separating. But you know what? He's still the best player on the planet right now. Thank you. It was an amazing season, so thank you, BL Height, for being part of the conversation. And don't forget, this summer we're going to have a lot more coming up. Should Wade be a sixth man next season? Wow, Dexter, that's a great question. You know what? He ain't a starter anymore. So, yeah, he's kind of got that Paul Pierce disease where he thinks he's still a starter. But I think you're onto something here. This might be a big I might have to retweet that if I get back on the Twitter. Where's the outrage over Spoda series? He did absolutely no favors for the roster. Why wasn't Bosch featured at all? I won't argue with you. I don't think he gave him enough support with the play calling and getting the team to listen enough to him and what they should be running on offense. So maybe he'll sit down and really figure that out and retool it for next year. Why is the NBA not as competitive as it used to be? Well, the West is certainly is a bloodbath. Just so happens that the East isn't. But, there certainly are the same number of great teams that there always have been. They just happen to be all be in the West. What happens to the big three? I say Pat Riley needs to work some GM magic and make a deal for Love. Hey, I don't know if he can do it, but that would be interesting. Heat offense probably couldn't keep pace with the Spurs offense, but Spo did nothing for the Heat. Yeah, I feel that way too. Where will James go? James is not going anywhere. If something's gonna happen, it's gonna be somebody coming to the Heat. I just can't picture him leaving. Why were the Heat so ineffective in the second and the fourth? Well, they were pressing. They were trying to do their best to try and get back in a series with one shot, even though it needed to be a series of small plays to get back into the game. And so it was over. Yeah, it was over in the second. Do I think LeBron will stay? Yes, I think they will, Mickey De La Pena. Sam asks, why haven't the Heat done a better job passing, and do you think there's a reason for the loss? It definitely has something to do with the defense being prepared days ahead of time to stop their 5 out when they just spread the floor and try and drive and kick. It's not an offense that's good enough against the top 2 or 3 defenses in the league, and they found that out. Yeah, let's see. Vivek asks, Kawhi is blossoming into a star. What can he work on and can be a top 10? I think he can be a top 5 scorer in the league. He can continue to improve his dribble and his jump shot without question. His post-up game needs to mature going into next year. And then he just needs to be more aggressive. He's so young, I'm sure he can develop that. I bet you 5-6 years from now, getting 26 points a game for him won't be a problem. How I rate the Heat offense? I've never been a fan of the Heat offense, Kaio. The Spurs offense has been, like we said, just pure coach's delight. And there isn't a meter I can put on them that's high enough for the Spurs offense. Just beautiful basketball. And the Heat offense is not. Just a lot of sort of, I'm going to try and break down the defense. Okay, now you try it. Okay, now you try it. An occasional weak side screen. Sometimes they call a play for Ray Allen, which looks like real offense. But other than that, it's too far in between. So, Swim Buddy Loves to Swim wants to know what the Heat do now. Well, they're going to have to try and just get another huge name, a big talent, to try and join that and overcome their philosophical and fundamental issues with more talent. I just don't know who that's going to be. I mean, they were talking about Melo, but Melo would have to take such a big pay cut. I would think his agent would fire him if he went there. Why do you think the Heat aren't able to use their athletic ability to overcome the Spurs ball player movement? Because passing always goes faster than you can run, basically. Why were the Heat incapable of stopping the Spurs throughout the series? Super Frank, when you pass the ball with precision and you space the floor and you have guys that can handle the ball that are professionals, then you're always going to be able to beat a team that gets out of position like the Heat do. If the Heat played more like the Bulls' positional defense, they would have had more of a chance. And they would have had more energy on offense. So where does the Spurs team fit in the pantheon of all-time great teams? Wow, they wouldn't have beaten the 95, 96 Bulls, I don't think. And the 86 Celtics are up there. But this team certainly has to be up there. They have to be a top, I don't know, I have to look at all the teams again, but they have to be top 6, top 7, easy of all time, I would say. Why weren't more Wade-less lineups given more minutes? I don't know why. Wade played too long. He definitely wasn't giving what they needed. Ian asks, he should play Beasley more. Also starting Allen was kind of a desperation move. Well, I thought they should have started Allen because they couldn't afford to get in a hole so early. And Beasley just doesn't have it. He's probably going to be gone. He doesn't know what they're doing on either end of the bench or either end of the floor. Does Spo deserve criticism? I mean, Sam Too Tall Jones for sure deserves criticism. No adjustments, really. Did the players not listen to him when he was trying to adjust? Well, that goes in the coach too, either way. So it's a real problematic however you want to look at it. And they're going to have to do some serious soul searching because keeping the team as it is now, they're not going to win another championship. Comparison between this Heat team and LeBron's Cavs team, if you so it is, leave again. this team is better than the Cavs team for sure, but they're going to need to do something. And also they have a better infrastructure. Pat Riley is just better than whatever they could offer on the GM side for Cleveland. So they'll be able to get him some help if it's possible. Let's see. Makagi asks, where does the league go from here? If Miami can't beat the Spurs, who can? And what's to be said about the Mavs taking them to 7? Well, the Mavs had a lucky shot that really shouldn't have counted by Vince Carter. So did they really that was sort of a mirage, I think, a little bit. And by the way, the Mavs had an elite offense, and they only had a problem on a couple different areas of defense. So the Mavs weren't as bad as people seem to think that they were, especially with the preparation they had. So I think that the Spurs just ran into a good Mavs team that was better than their record. But the league goes from here. Well, the East needs to do something to get better. Otherwise, it's going to be a problem, and then Miami will get another shot at the finals at least. Wade is not a superstar anymore. He does look old. He looks slow, even though they protected him all those games. Pop said. Milos asks, I don't think about legacy very often. I'd like to continue coaching. I don't feel tired. Awesome. Well, then that means he's going to stay, right? How many times did the Heat run horns? I got to look at my little conversation I have with Coach Gibb. I think he said it was only a very few, like less than 5, which is kind of weird, Vincent. It doesn't make any sense. It should be 15 times. LeBron meant so much to his little kid. You sort of feel pity. It was sad to see him really upset on the bench and losing another finals. But listen, I can't cry too much for LeBron. He's had a lot of success and he's got a nice life. It looks like so. Joey asks, with another rink in the Parker Duncan duo trio go down as one of the greatest ever? Yeah, probably. What are you talking about? Mikhail Bird, and are they on that level? Mikhail Bird and Parrish? Who would be the third? And maybe like Worthy and Magic. Yeah, probably. They're up there. They're definitely top 5. The Spurs big men in terms of passing. They're very fundamental with the passing. They're not going to throw crazy stuff, but Diaw and Duncan are fantastic, and Splitter is capable. So you throw, those 3, it's all you need. So they're terrific, really terrific stuff. Rare to see that many great passers. And again, Diaw was the thing. Who got the MVP? I was with you guys. I missed who got it. I look like maybe Kawhi did. I'd be shocked if he didn't. Jared asks, how does Miami lose 3 in a row? They didn't really adjust. That's certainly the case on their defensive end, and that's too bad. They didn't really have any adjustments to go to. And then offensively, yeah, they looked equally bland and problematic. So, they do what they do and they stick to it, which is sometimes commendable, but not when you run up against a team like the Spurs that can adjust. Let's see here. Sam asks, looking at the offseason for the Thunder, clear coaching problem. Who do you think can make OKC a true title contender? Oh, I think Lionel Hollins could do it. I think they need a better coach. I really do. I think that Brooks has gotten them as far as they're going to get. Let's see. Spacing problems on offense. I mean, George Karl, could he do it? Like I didn't like his offense in the playoffs before when he got fired that year for Denver. So no, but Lionel Hollins is definitely someone out there that can make him better. That's the first name that comes to mind. Spacing problems on offense obviously plague Heat versus the Spurs. What can they do to improve next year? Well, they need to have a better offensive philosophy. They need to put something in it that gets more movement and creates better shots for their role players. So whether it's the triangle or whatever they can do, so they need something that can help them get better shots for the role players and maximize what LeBron can do. And they're not doing that right now. He's not posting up enough. Did Parker's defense really make him hesitate and pass? Who knows with LeBron at some point, and at that point when in the game, he should have just blown by or posted him up and gone right at him. They just don't seem to recognize that sometimes. Let's see. Let's get a couple more questions before I got to kind of wrap it up and get on to a breakdown for tonight. Bigger factor: Pop's adjustments from the finals versus last year, or development of Spurs role players, primarily Leonard and Mills. I think it was more the Leonard and Mills developing, because I think that they had the game plan to win the series last year. They just kind of fell short by a play. So I think it was more Pop's managing the minutes and keeping them fresh, and then certainly Leonard and Mills coming through. okay, this is the fourth for the big three Heat have been playing. However, they still don't play like a team on offense. I agree, Ian. It almost doesn't matter because they won those two, but I'm more about the process, and it's not there for them. Sam says, "Who's my Finals MVP?" I've been saying it was Kawhi, I think, all night, or Diaw, but I certainly was leaning toward Kawhi. I'm assuming that's who won it. Is the Bulls' future bright? It's kind of cloudy right now, Milos. I don't know if I just don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to try and gut the team to get Melo? Are they going to bring in the guy from Europe who's pretty good and try and maybe sign somebody and let Rose get healthy? It's cloudy. It can go either way right now. So let's finish up these two. Makagi says, I said the Spurs office was very rudimentary and basic. Did I really say that? It's sort of, it might seem that way now to the players because they've been running it for so long, but there is a lot of cleverness to it now and team play. But yeah, I mean there are a lot of basic action to it as well. So we'll have to watch that breakdown again. Thank you. So all right, sports fans, another live show in the can basically, and a whole season in the can. On this Father's Day, well, first of all, I want to wish a happy Father's Day to everybody out there who's a father. And certainly my pop has been really instrumental, and it was his idea for me to start this. In all honesty, so don't forget this summer we're going to have so much crazy content that you better keep following us, keep your subscription on YouTube fresh because we're going to get on the court and do a whole ton of demos. We're going to do a lot of on-court demonstrations. We'll be in Vegas for a whole lot of days doing all sorts of live coverage and interviews and all sorts of great stuff. And I'm working on some more on-court demos with NBA players there. So, I intend to keep our views up. I intend to keep you guys, with something every day, hopefully, throughout the whole summer. So don't go anywhere because it's going to get even better as we penetrate the market and I make better and better connections. Like when I was in Miami this past week, I met a whole lot of great people at varying levels of success that we can do some really cool stuff with. So don't forget about that. We'll be doing a lot more NBA trade trackers if you haven't seen those, where we break down how teams in the past have managed their trades to build their teams. It's a really cool segment. People love it. We're going to do a lot more of those. So stay tuned for all that and more. And don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in?